Sometimes life is messy. Have you ever wished you could refocus your mind, home, relationships, and work life? Join us as we use research-based information to make practical changes and simplify life. This is Life Simplified.
Welcome to Life Simplified. This month is all about food, family, and fun as we discuss travel throughout Kentucky. Each week, we're going to explore a different region in the state, and we're using the 2024 Kentucky Visitor's Guide as our reference. You can access that interactive guide online or request a free copy in the mail. As always, we will provide the link in our show notes. Before we start talking about a specific region, let's talk about vacations in general. What do you look for when you are thinking about a vacation?
I think it depends on who I am taking on the vacation. If it's a family trip and all 5 of us are going, I try to consider what is going to keep everyone occupied and a little something for everyone, whether it's adventure, exploring, shopping, relaxing, just trying to take it all into consideration. And also, am I going to be able to keep my sanity? Because let's be honest, traveling is great and fun, but when you throw kids and personalities in the mix, whoo, sometimes you got to be prepared for, how far of a distance can we travel in a vehicle together? Are we going to be able to all kind of get it together? And clearly budget is gonna matter. If it is just myself and the husband, it's totally different. I like to take that opportunity to relax more. Like, I know if I'm taking the kids, we need to be doing things. Like, keeping them occupied is more important than being a restful trip. But if I'm going with the husband, I want to be able to relax. I want to be able to go somewhere that I can explore when I want to, but I can just kind of take it easy.
Yeah, I have to agree with Tiffany. It just depends on the complete circumstances of who you're going with and what area you're going to. Because when we go to the beach, all I want to do is relax. But all my people are older now. Where at one time, when I did have littles, we had to make sure that they was busy. So it just really depends. And then I also want to make sure that I get to see all things if I'm in that area, but not at a big cost. So I try to research far as, is there coupons or if there's, some way to save money or that type of thing. So, but I agree with Tiffany.
Well, and I'm the same as well. If I'm taking children, then I know that I have to plan all the things and be constantly finding something to do. Now, I did not necessarily know that before we went on our first beach trip as a family, because when I go to the beach, in the past, it has been myself and an adult, and I like to relax at the beach, and I want to read all the books at the beach and sit on the beach in the umbrella all day, go inside, take a nap, come back, maybe nap on the beach. I'm just relaxing. That is not the case with children, and I learned that we're going to be going. So now I pay attention to that, and if we're taking the children, then I want to go somewhere where there are activities, there are things that can keep us busy, something to see, and which I understand that. And then if it is a grown-up trip, then I'm interested in relaxing. I'm probably not even going to make a whole lot of plans. I will probably look and see what kind of food there's going to be because I'm going to need something delicious. But as far as sightseeing, I want to be able to go if I want to, but if I'm too tired and I don't want to, then I'm good with that too. So we have just some general vacation tips for you before we dive into the northern Kentucky River region, which is what we're talking about today. So Joni mentioned a budget. Tiffany also mentioned a budget. When you're thinking about a vacation in general, you want to take into consideration how much that is going to cost. And it'd be a great idea to go ahead and set a budget at the beginning of the year. Think about what your vacation budget is. Do you want to take one big vacation? Do you want to take a few small vacations? Are you in a position that you can take multiple big vacations? You know what your finances are. You know how much you can spend. So set that amount aside, determine that amount, and save it each month so that you have a plan and a budget. Plan early, which I know we've got some planners in the room. I wonder if we have any listeners who are also planners. Your lowest prices on airfare and hotels are typically up to 6 months in advance. So you can really take advantage of some offers if you're looking ahead of time.
I'm laughing. Sorry, guys. I got home from a family vacation like roughly 4 days ago. And I'm already planning next year's. So yes, I 100% planner, like all the way. I don't even get back from one and I'm planning one.
That's funny. And then sometimes, you may be just a fly at the seat of your pants type person too, which I'm not.
You're like,
Maybe.
not me, but someone might be.
Who are you talking about?
Okay.
That's not you.
Maybe a little bit I am, but most of the time I'm a planner. But sometimes it is just a fly at the seat of your pants. And I didn't used to be like that. So I don't know where that has come from.
Maybe you can plan to be spontaneous.
Well, when you overplan and people get on to you because you do overplan, it's just like, okay, maybe I do need to relax some. But anyway, now when it comes to my beach vacation, I don't have to plan because I already know what I'm doing, because we usually go to the same spot. But I'm up for new spots, by the way. So if you know any good beach vacations, let me know.
I got you. I was thinking when we're thinking about budget and planning ahead and thinking about, how many vacations are you taking? How many can you afford? Like we definitely, like I kind of said earlier, we do a family trip and then we like to do just my husband and I a trip typically around our anniversary. So we're planning two. We don't really do either for a full week, more like long weekends and things like that. But it is important that we have those two separate kind of trips each year that we like to book out. But when I'm thinking of a budget, so I know how much I want to spend. And so at first when I'm looking at a place, I'm like, all right, what is this wish list? Like, this is the all in, what I want, all of it. And then I price it. And then I start like saying, okay, what are the things that I know I want to do? Like if it's the place I want to stay, or if it's the way I'm going to, get there through transportation, or if it's the places I want to eat. And then I start cutting back, like what's not as important. So I think it sometimes it's fun to like, all right, if I could just do whatever, the dream trip would be this. And then you kind of bring it back to reality step by step based on what's most important to you.
And we always try to do one thing for each person, something that they would enjoy, that even if the rest of us are kind of like, that's not my thing, everybody gets to pick one thing and then we fit it into the budget however that can be done.
And seeing that's funny where I go as food, like we normally, I'll just use the beach because that's the most recent thing, like we plan out like, okay, breakfast, this is what we're having. Lunch, this is what we're having. Supper, we're going to go eat somewhere. Okay, so we ask, what do you guys want? So one person gets to pick, this is where we want. And maybe 2 or 3, everybody agrees with that. So then that's their choice too, So I look at it as the food aspect of it too, so.
And then another budget tip while we're on the topic of budgeting, traveling during the off season. Summer is typically the most popular and the most expensive time to travel, and we know that these episodes are airing right in the middle of the summer, but this can also help you start planning for next year because we want you to plan, so far in advance to get the best deal. But traveling in that off season, I know there are a couple of places out of the country that I have been, and it was during the off season. Otherwise, I don't know that I would have been able to make those trips happen. And we had to bundle up, get our coats. That first one I went on, I did not have the proper attire for that. I was not ready for that. But the second one, I was ready to go. I had my nice coat, my hat. I was ready for it. So we still got to see some really awesome things and do some great activities, even though it was the off season.
Yeah, we've done that too. I was thinking like probably my most favorite trip we've been on We went out west and we did it in January, and it was cold. Like, clearly, like you said, you need to kind of be prepared for whatever the weather and elements are. But we were able to go to some of the larger national parks like the Grand Canyon and Zion and, a few others at their off season, where we were allowed to actually take our vehicle in and drive around, whereas you would have had to taken public transportation. You would have had to take in a bus or a tour, or it would have been more difficult to go and see and do the things. We had more freedom and flexibility because we were in the off season. And so even though it was cooler weather, maybe not the most ideal if you don't like the cold, it was one of those things where it ended up being fabulous because we were able to do more, see more, not have as many crowds, and it gave us a lot more ability to explore.
I also like the fact that we're talking about our state of Kentucky. We have so many interesting places throughout the whole state, from northern, central, west, wherever it may be. But we can also take day trips.
Yeah.
And planning them day trips of being able to know, okay, well, this is where I want to go, and this, and this, and planning a little ahead at a time. And even if you wanted to plan like once a month, a short day trip or something, or maybe an overnight weekend, being able to plan that and save for that also is really, my husband and I started a couple of years ago. Like, we tried to go to different places and different counties in our state of Kentucky and explore, because it is really cool to see what other areas, what they have to offer, and that just not down here in the western part where we are. So,
right. And I love that. That is a great segue. We will post these tips for vacationing on a budget. We'll post the link on our show notes. So we will go ahead and dive right into the Northern Kentucky region. And like I mentioned earlier, this does come from the Kentucky Visitor's Guide. All of our information that we're discussing today comes directly from that. We've probably mentioned in multiple podcasts that the University of Kentucky does not promote one product, one business over another. So all of this information is coming from our tourism guide as well as our personal experiences. And we do encourage you to download that guide and check it out online for lots of information. And if you know of places in Kentucky that are not mentioned, because there's no way we can mention all of them in this short amount of time that we have for a podcast, but let us know. Comment on our Facebook page. We'll have posts throughout the month where you can be interactive. So please let us know some places. Some of us are even planning to visit over the next couple of months. So we may need all the help we can get. The Visitor's Guide is divided into different regions, and at the beginning of each section, there's a quote, something specific about the region. And so I'm going to read the one about Northern Kentucky River region. Lively river towns and restaurants meet peaceful lakes and lookouts. It is just across the Ohio River from Cincinnati, and it has been known as the top of the South. So, have you two been to Northern Kentucky? And if so, what did you do there?
I have. It's been many years since I have visited and done things there, but I have been there in the past. I've taken my kids to the little area where the aquarium was, and which is a really cool place. And I'm sure that they've got so many more different activities up there, but they had just a little shopping center and, right there on the riverfront is seeing the aquarium. And I have also experienced the Creation Museum. I took a trip with our church up to the Creation Museum. I have not got to go and experience the art yet, but that is on my list to do. So, but it's a very beautiful place up there in the northern region.
So I don't have a lot of experience in Northern Kentucky. I've driven through there before, getting to other destinations. I've not done a lot of time where I've stopped and visited and explored. I did have the opportunity, though, in the last couple years, I did a leadership program through extension work that I got to see different various areas of the whole entire state, which was nice. And one of the places that we went and stayed was the General Butler State Resort Park in Carrollton. And that was a place I had not been before, and it was really pretty. I would like to explore some more up there. I do know that my oldest child has been to the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter. So he's been up there with a school trip and enjoyed it. And so maybe that's something we'll go back and do as a family. But it's not something I've been able to spend a lot of time doing. So I'm actually eager to hear some of the things that it may be a part of the state that I can spend a little more time in, maybe do like a weekend trip with the family.
My brother lives in northern Kentucky, so I've been there several times. And I've been there a lot. Sometimes we get out and explore, and sometimes we just hang around his neighborhood. But I have been to the Creation Museum. I have been to the Ark. And when we went to the Ark, it was still fairly new. I did not have my children at the time, so I was with my niece and my nephew, and they were little. So it was a lot of walking. And I do remember that about it. There was a lot of walking, and they were really tired. But an amazing experience. We've been to the aquarium that Joni mentioned, and that area, Newport on the Levee, that has grown so much over the years, and I haven't been there in a while and can't even, I can't imagine because I did the research on it to see what all is there now, but some of the places that are there now were not there whenever I was there.
See, and that's what I'm thinking. This is when my children was really small. And, as I've mentioned, they are young adults now in their 20s. So it's been several years, and I know they was building up things down there then. So I know there's so much more. But now I would like to we've been planning to take our granddaughter, because she's 5, instead of buying her present this year for her birthday, we decided to do an adventure.
I like
and
that.
So we was waiting for my Otis to get back from deployment, and he's home. And she said, Mimi, he's home. It's time for us to plan our trip. And because, we try to include all of us in them adventures, as a family. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about, okay, are we going to do an overnight? Or are we just going to do something small? So that area has been thrown in there. So I really would like to take her, because she's 5, to be able to experience the Ark and, see some of them encounters up there too. So.
Well, and this tourism guide may be an excellent resource for you as you're looking at that. They have a 3-day itinerary, which was really cool. And I'll just kind of go through and we'll talk about what's on the plan, because we were already talking about Newport on the Levee. So that's day 1. You start at Newport on the Levee, and there are different restaurants. There's the aquarium. There's a theater. There's shopping. There is an immersive game box.
Oh,
what?
Interesting.
Right?
What is this? Tell me.
So players actually use their bodies as the controllers as they're navigating this digital adventure, which I thought was so cool. That was not there, or if it was, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know. So I thought that was really cool. There is a place called Velocity Esports, which has a whole lot of different activities in that. The Brickery Cafe and Play.
Oh, okay. All right. I know an almost 8-year-old that would be totally down for that.
And I could see your Otis also interested in playing that digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This sounds like there's something for all the people.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And we already mentioned the aquarium. The aquarium is in that area as well, Newport Aquarium. And that Brickery Cafe and Play is Lego themed.
I love it.
Oh,
I love it.
My children may be in their 20s, but they still
would love
love
it.
Legos.
Legos are cool. Yeah. You don't outgrow those, I don't think.
I don't think
you
so
just
either.
change what you build.
Yeah.
And then also in Newport, there's the World Peace Bell and Exhibit Center. And that has one of only 30 peace bells in the world.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. It may not be something that would automatically be on your list, or you would think to search for, because I think when we're thinking about travel, we're thinking about those big things. The aquariums. I'm looking for an aquarium everywhere. I'm looking for a zoo everywhere. I enjoy going to visit those things, but that probably wouldn't be something that I would just automatically think, hey, let me see if there's one of these.
Yeah.
Well, and my husband and 2 of my children, the boys, they're history people too, and being able to have that history behind, the Peace Bell and what it is and how did it originate in that area too, would be interested to learn more about and see.
Yes. And so while it might not be something you would necessarily search out,
right.
What an amazing piece of history. Mm-hmm. Another stop along the way, St. Mary's Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption, which is a 100-year-old French Gothic cathedral with the world's largest hand-blown stained glass window.
Oh, that is so cool. I love stained glass.
I do too.
That is, I mean, they're just different and beautiful.
Yeah, and it feels like a lost art.
Yes.
So to be able to see that, like,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I love cathedrals too, and the history and the architect of how that it was built, because you think about when it was built, like what skills they had back then. So that's beautiful.
So that's day 1. Day 2, you're heading over to the Creation Museum, the Ark Encounter, and Kincaid Lake State Park. And so the Creation Museum, we mentioned that a little bit, and Joni said that she has visited there. I've also been there, and when I went, I held a 75-pound snake.
Ew. Why?
because it was the thing to do.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Look at it. Wave at it.
That's my claim
Get
to
away
fame.
from it.
I held a giant snake. So I'm going to look for that picture.
I'm going to need to see proof of this.
Yeah,
I
we need to know.
I
Yeah.
did it. But y'all, that was so long ago. It is.
Would you do it now?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Ah.
That was a long time ago.
Okay, I don't have any issues with them as long as somebody else is holding it. I'm not holding it. I will go over there and just kind of touch it, but I don't want to be around it.
I'm not interested. I don't want it. No, thank
Now,
you.
and I can't say that it's something they still do. I haven't been in years, but when I went, that was one of, and it might have been just that day that was something happening that day. But they were very specific about where I had to hold it, and I had to hold it with 2 hands. And then they put it in my hands and they said, "Okay, don't move." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay."
but okay. So my problem here is it's head wiggles. Like I would be afraid this thing come way too close to my line of sight, and I'd be like, nope, noping out of
Well, I was there long enough to get a picture. So
there. Yeah, no.
And then he was gone.
yeah. And then we held it as a family, the same snake. So,
I mean, I can't even handle a cicada, much less a snake.
So I'm going to look for that picture. And if I can find that picture in a digital format so that I can share it.
I want you to put it
like we were
on
still printing
Facebook
pictures then,
page.
y'all.
Okay, so if
that's
you've
the goal. I'm going to look for it.
If you've ever been at the Ark and you've ever experienced any of the animals there, we would like for you to post them on our social media when we post this episode.
Yes, show me your pictures where you also held the snake.
Lovely.
But there's lots to do at the Creation Museum. It goes over, there's biblical history, a planetarium, there's a zip line, a petting zoo, botanical gardens.
Oh, their gardens is absolutely beautiful.
Yes, so lots to do there. And then head on over to the Ark Encounter, and that is a life-size Noah's Ark. Then also Ararat Ridge Zoo has different exotic animals. And then we've got Kincaid Lake State Park in Falmouth, where you can rent a boat for fishing. There's walking trails, there's mini golf, lots to do there. So day 2 ends there. And we move on to day 3. Day 3, we're heading on over to Maysville to go to the Kentucky Gateway Museum Center. We'll visit the National Underground Railroad Museum, and then head on over to the Kentucky Speedway, which is near Sparta, and maybe you can even schedule a track tour.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, there's your 3-day plan according to the Kentucky Tourism Guide. So that sounds like a lot of fun. As I mentioned previously, there are so many places to go, so many things to do in each of the regions in Kentucky that there would be no way for us to name all of them in a podcast episode. So we definitely encourage you to do your own research. And if you are planning a trip to the Northern Kentucky region anytime soon, let us know how your planning is going. Let us know when you get back. Tell us the things that you did. We would love to hear about it. To close this episode, we've talked about several different things to do, several things that we have already done. If you could pick one place to take your family, what do you think? Where do you think you would go?
You know I can't pick one place.
True.
You've met me. So, but while we discussed, it did occur to me, like, first of all, I love a good itinerary. Like I will take an itinerary and I will highlight the great stuff. I will modify, I'll make it my own, but I love a good starting point, and they've done the work for me here. So I kind of am in love with that. I like this 3-day plan that we went over. And to me, I was like, oh, fall break, any kind of 3-day weekend. I think this is something I want to explore more because it's not an area I'm familiar with. I've not been there a lot. So my family hasn't been there a lot, but it is an easy driving distance. And there are a lot of things that kind of check all the boxes of everybody's interest. So I want to dig more into this.
And not only that, with this itinerary too, is because it goes from all of the areas, you know, it's covering a lot of the areas in northern Kentucky. And I know there's some places that it's not, but that's when you can explore to say, okay, well, it doesn't have that in there, then I would like to include that as well. But I'm also like Tiffany, I mean, that work's already started there for you. So this is a good starting place. And then you can, you know, venture out like this is where else I would like to go. So I think couldn't say one place. I would like to visit, you know, multiple, especially if I'm going to be in that area. So
I told you my brother lives there, so I've been there several times. But we had actually planned a trip for the summer, just a mini 2 or 3 days, just go hang out with them. All of our kids have summer birthdays. So when I suggested it, I said, you know, let's just do this for the birthdays. Let's just go venture out. And he asked me when we were talking about it, he said, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do something you've never done before? Do you want to? And I said, well, I always love a zoo. I always love the aquarium. But my child has not done the Creation Museum. She has not done the Ark Encounter and some of the things that we haven't done. So we had planned to go visit some places that we had not. Now, our plans got a little messed up due to other commitments that I had not considered when I had planned this 4-day trip. So I'm still working on that. I'm hoping to get there later in the summer and go for a few days and venture to several of these places that we mentioned. But I know we will get there eventually if it doesn't happen this summer. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know my child is, because she loves when we can go visit. Once again, we hope that you have gotten some information about traveling our state of Kentucky. Stay tuned the rest of the month. We're going to cover several other regions in the state and download that tourism guide. Thank you for listening. This is Life Simplified.
Thanks for listening to Life Simplified. We are family and consumer sciences agents with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. Contact us at lifesimplifiedpodcast@gmail.com.